There are moments when life seems to move in circles. You meditate, visualize, affirm. You take courses, perform rituals, dive deep. And yet, certain patterns remain. People reappear, emotions persist, results fail to manifest. It's as if there's an invisible wall between what you desire and what you actually live. And this silent frustration starts to corrode something essential: faith. You begin to doubt yourself, the universe, your spirituality. What if nothing works? What if you're truly stuck in this limited version of yourself? But what if what holds you back isn't karma, a curse, or a spiritual punishment? What if it's simply an old frequency, being repeated without your awareness? Bruce Lipton reminds us, biology is not ruled by fate, but by perception. Your body, your cells, your subconscious mind, they all respond to how you interpret the world. And the way you interpret the world shapes the reality you live in. Each day, with every reaction, you either reinforce or release the version of yourself that's active. Joe Dispenza adds, "Desire alone doesn't change reality. What transforms is vibrational coherence." Change doesn't happen because you want it badly. It happens because you're able to sustain, even in silence, the emotional state of what you wish to experience. So what does this mean? It means you don't need to destroy the old version of you. You simply need to stop tuning into it. The timeline you're living is like a radio station. It's playing because you're listening. When you change the station, the old one doesn't vanish, but it stops being your reality. The frequency shifts, the vibration changes, and the world transforms because you did. You're not stuck, you're just tuned in. And in this video, we're going to explore, with emotional depth, quantum understanding, and vibrational practices, how to change the station, how to lovingly release the old you, and finally inhabit the state where change is no longer a promise, but your new frequency. The feeling of stagnation, of nothing changing despite all your spiritual effort, is one of the most challenging experiences on the path of consciousness. It's like walking through quicksand. The more you try to move forward, the more it feels like you're sinking in the same place. But what many don't realize is that this stillness is not passivity, it's repetition. Your internal system, body, mind, emotions, doesn't seek what's best. It seeks what's familiar. Biology is wired for survival, not happiness, which means that even when you affirm you want something new, your energy might still be vibrating the old, because it's known, because it's predictable, because it feels safe. You say you want abundance, but vibrate like someone who still needs to protect themselves. You say you want new love, but respond to the world with the reflexes of a heart once broken. You say you want a quantum leap, but repeat the unconscious gestures of someone still afraid to fall. This is why true change doesn't start in the mind. It starts in the body. It's the body that holds the records of the past. It's the body that anticipates danger. It's the body that keeps the repetition alive, even when the mind desires something new. Bruce Lipton teaches us that the subconscious governs over 90% of our biological and energetic reality. What's stored there controls your impulses, your reactions, your invisible limits. And this subconscious functions like an automatic program. It doesn't question, it just executes. You can repeat an affirmation 1,000 times, but if your body still reacts the same way it always has, the vibration you're emitting is still that of the old you. And the quantum field, faithful to what is dominant, keeps collapsing realities that reinforce the familiar. You're not stuck. You're attached to the known. You're repeating what once felt safe, even if it now feels painful. And the key to changing that isn't in forcing the new. It's in recognizing the old. Seeing with compassion how much of what you live today isn't your essence, but your programming. And when you see it clearly, the repetition begins to dissolve, because the familiar only has power while it stays hidden. Once exposed, it loses strength, and the new finally finds space. Change hurts, even when the change is for the better. And this pain doesn't come from the transformation itself. It comes from the silent grief it demands. Because to access a new reality, you must inevitably let an old one die. The problem is that the old version of you still protects you. It's still functional. It still knows how to move through the world. You want abundance, but you still manage scarcity masterfully. You want freedom, but you still wear control like armor. You want true love, but you still know how to survive the emptiness of lovelessness. And that's why the new doesn't arrive, because part of you is still committed to what came before, not out of malice, but out of energetic loyalty. You got used to being who you had to be, and now, even though you want to be different, you keep acting, feeling, choosing like the old you. This isn't weakness, it's memory, vibrational memory, living in your nervous system, in your muscles, in your quiet decisions. You want to change, but your frequency still carries the codes of survival, not creation. Joe Dispenza speaks about this clearly. The quantum field doesn't respond to what you say, it responds to what you embody. If you want a new timeline, but keep making decisions from the same fears, the same limits, the same old narratives, the field will only return more of the same, because to it, you are still the same. And here lies the paradox. Change begins before the change. You don't wait for something new to act like the new you. You act like the new you, and then the new reveals itself. That's the real rupture, not with the world, but with the vibrational identity you carry, with the version of you that no longer matches the reality you long to live. And this takes courage, because sometimes becoming the new you means disappointing old expectations. It means shifting patterns in families who know you a certain way. It means acting differently, even if no one understands. It means holding the silence of transformation before it yields visible fruit. The universe doesn't need you to shout who you've become. It simply waits for you to stop vibrating as someone you no longer are. It's easy to want. What's hard is to sustain the signal that turns desire into reality. You can wake up with hope, and by the afternoon, sink into doubt. You can write affirmations every morning and still feed old fears by nightfall. You can declare you're ready, yet still vibrate like someone waiting for permission. And the quantum field, which doesn't operate by isolated intentions but by continuous frequency, picks up that oscillation. It doesn't listen to what you wish for occasionally, it responds to what you silently sustain with consistency. The universe doesn't deliver what you ask for with closed eyes. It delivers what you hold with open eyes in the middle of routine, reactions, and subtle choices. That's where your dominant signal lives. Bruce Lipton reminds us, it's your internal environment, your emotions, your repeated thoughts, that determines your cellular behavior. In other words, what you feel consistently shapes your biology, and your biology shapes the field. Do you want to be answered by a new reality? Then pay attention to what you're emitting when no one's watching, because that invisible pattern, not rituals or poetic words, is what the field decodes. You don't attract what you desire in the morning. You attract what you believe in with conviction at night. You can visualize a new life, feel ready for it, mentally create every detail. But if your body isn't convinced, it will pull you back to the old reality. Because the body holds records the mind has already forgotten. It learned to survive in a certain way. It associated safety with old habits, even if they were painful. And when you try to take a quantum leap without first calming that system, the body perceives the new as a threat. That's why so many people retreat when things start to change. Not because they don't want to evolve, but because their nervous system is still vibrating in defense, in survival, in alert. Quantum physics shows us that reality collapses based on the observer. But what few people say is, the observer isn't just the mind, it's also the body, the biological vibration, the automatic reactions. Joe Dispenza insists, to access a new timeline, you must teach the body to feel safe in it, to breathe differently, to walk differently, to act like someone who's already there, even when nothing around you confirms it yet. That's the key. The leap isn't just mental, it must be embodied. Without recalibrating the body, the old you keeps making decisions, even when the new you is already knocking at the door. You don't need to change your entire life at once to access a new timeline. You just need to initiate a coherent movement. Small, but real. Because the quantum field doesn't demand grandiosity, it responds to vibrational repetition, to silent presence, to gestures that may seem simple but carry a new intention. Breathing consciously during a moment of conflict, choosing silence when the impulse was to react, offering kindness when the old you would have walked away, saying thank you, even without an immediate reason. These are clear signals to the field that something has already shifted within you. Bruce Lipton teaches that it's the vibrational environment that shapes biology. So, when you change the field around you with a different action, even a small one, your body understands that a new reality is being chosen, and the field understands it too. You don't need to convince the universe with words, you simply need to show, with vibrational consistency, that you've already begun to live as someone who is ready. Coherence begins in the details. You can wish for change, visualize it, feel it for a few minutes, even believe in it. But until that intention becomes part of who you are, the field remains on standby, because the quantum field collapses, not for what you want, but for what you have become. When your intention is no longer something separate and becomes an extension of your identity, then everything around you begins to reorganize. You don't ask, you vibrate. You don't wish, you embody. That's the moment when manifestation stops being an attempt and becomes a consequence. Joe Dispenza says, "You don't need to convince the universe, you need to convince yourself." And that only happens when the new state is no longer a visitor, but a home. When you breathe, act, and feel like someone who already inhabits what was once just a vision. You're not trying to become, you already are, even in silence, even if no one sees it. Quantum physics responds to coherence, not performance, to vibrational being, not mental effort. The field understands identity, because identity vibrates all the time, even when you're saying nothing. Sometimes, you've already chosen the new, but without realizing it, you're still feeding the old. Not out of bad intention, but out of emotional habit, out of vibrational memory. It's subtle. You repeat a conversation from the past. You over-explain to please. You settle for less than you deserve, so you don't seem demanding. You act as if you still need to protect yourself, even when there's no longer any danger. Each of these small repetitions reinforces the old timeline, as if you're telling the field, "I'm still who I used to be." Bruce Lipton states, "The external environment responds to the internal one, and your internal environment is made of patterns, not just thoughts, but actions, postures, and automatic reactions. When those reactions stay the same, the field keeps collapsing the same reality, because to the field, you're still there. And there's no judgment in that, only echo. That's why change doesn't require superhuman effort. It requires awareness. Awareness of your daily micro-choices, of the gestures that keep the old alive, of the words that reactivate outdated patterns, of the tone you use when you speak to yourself. You don't have to fight the old timeline, you just have to stop feeding it. You can say you're ready for the new, that you want prosperity, love, freedom, but your body reveals the truth. Tension in the jaw when talking about money, tightness in the chest when someone compliments you, a clenched stomach in the face of an expansive possibility. The body doesn't resist by accident. It's simply signaling that, to it, this still isn't safe. Bruce Lipton explains, "The subconscious is not just mental, it's also physiological. The body stores memories, survival codes, and it gets used to certain sensations even if they're painful. It gets used to expecting the worst, to protecting itself before trusting. That's why so often you fall back into the same cycles. It's not about lacking worthiness. It's that your body hasn't yet learned how to inhabit the new frequency. It needs to be taught gently, with patience, with consistency, breath by breath, gesture by gesture, until the presence of the new stops feeling like a threat and starts to feel like home." The quantum field responds to the dominant vibration, and often, what dominates is not the thought, but the body's silent signal. If it's still vibrating fear, guilt, constriction, that's what the field will collapse into form. Not to punish you, but to show you where the clearing still needs to happen. Manifestation isn't a random miracle that happens to the chosen ones, nor is it a reward for those who think positively all the time. Manifestation is an equation, a code, a predictable energetic outcome based on coherence. Coherence between what you feel, what you think, and what you do. Bruce Lipton shows us that the field around you responds to the chemistry of your body, and your body's chemistry shifts according to your dominant emotions. When you live in fear, you release substances that keep your field in survival mode. When you live in trust, your body changes, and the field changes with it. The energy you emit needs to be consistent, even if small. The clarity of your frequency matters more than the size of your desire. It's like math. If your intention is a 10, but your emotion vibrates at 2 and your behavior at 4, the field reads the average, not the promise. You can say 1,000 times that you're ready, but if your body hesitates and your actions contradict it, your reality stays the same, because it is obeying the real code, and the real code is your vibrational sum. Joe Dispenza emphasizes, reality doesn't collapse from the effort of wanting, but from the stabilization of the corresponding frequency. So yes, your reality can change, but not when you want more, when you align more, when you sustain with consistency the new frequency you used to only visit. It's not magic, it's energetic precision. Imagine you're standing at an old train station. The track ahead always leads to the same place: scarcity, repetition, familiar pain. You know every stop on that line, even if it hurts, it's familiar. And the body, it likes what's predictable. But right beside that same station, there's another track, a new route. It also exists, it's already there. You don't have to build the rails, you just need to switch platforms. That's the quantum leap. It's not a dramatic escape, it's not a cry for help. It's an internal gesture of realignment, a silent decision to stop boarding the same old trains. Many people think they need to destroy their story to live something new, that they must erase the past, cancel who they were, reject their former self. But the quantum field doesn't ask for that. It doesn't want your cancellation. It wants your update. Bruce Lipton explains that every cell responds to the environment you create. If the environment changes, the cell changes. If the internal track transforms, the destination transforms too. Because the route is dictated by frequency, not force. The quantum leap begins when you calmly choose not to repeat. When you hear your automatic reaction and respond with awareness. When you remember who you were, but act like who you're becoming. The field isn't waiting for you to prove anything. It's waiting for you to tune in. And tuning in is simple. It's daily. It's possible. It's not about taking a giant leap, but about finally stopping the walk in circles. Maybe you felt stuck in patterns you can't quite explain. Maybe you've tried to change, to grow, to evolve, and still found yourself back in the same place. But today, a new understanding has opened. You're not failing. You're simply tuned into an old version of yourself. And it keeps repeating, not because the universe is stubborn, but because of vibrational loyalty. The quantum field doesn't reward or punish, it replicates. Bruce Lipton reminds us, when you change the way you look at the world around you changes. Not just as an idea, but biologically, neurologically, energetically, because perception is creative. The way you feel today shapes the environment that is born tomorrow. Neville Goddard said, "Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not as a hope, but as a truth." That's what creates new realities. It's not about wanting harder, it's about living as if it already is. So, breathe, be still, feel. Your new reality already exists. It's not distant, it's available. But it can only be accessed by those who stop sustaining the old one, vibrationally. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be coherent. One gesture shifts the signal. One choice shifts the frequency. One new way of relating to your own energy changes everything. You're not waiting for a new reality. You're choosing to stop repeating the old one. And that, deep down, is the beginning of the leap. Today, don't try to do differently. Be different, with presence, with lightness, with truth.